This is the GEPRC Darkstar22. It's a 2.2-inch DJI O4 Pro cinewhoop, and I'm super excited about this release because I love this 2.2-inch form factor. It handles the weight of a DJI O4 Pro so much better than smaller prop sizes, but it's still small enough to be quiet so you can get away with flying in public places or around people. And of course, it's way under 250 grams no matter what battery you use. One of the first things I noticed about the Darkstar22 is that the price is reasonable for a DJI O4 Pro bind and fly. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but a lot of manufacturers have been adding a premium to their DJI O4 Pro bind and flies. GEPRC has kept the price of the Darkstar22 fair. You can get this with or without a DJI O4 Pro, and the price difference is $230, which is the retail price of the DJI O4 Pro, so no price gouging. When you first see it, the Darkstar22 looks very similar to the Pavo20 Pro. Here's what it sounds like. And here's what the Pavo20 Pro sounds like. If you're considering either of these drones, you should know that there are some real differences, and in this video, I'm gonna tell you about them. So by the end, you'll be in a better place to decide for yourself which of these drones deserves your hard-earned cash. Here's what the drone will look like when it comes to you. I got the ELRS version with the DJI O4 Pro pre-installed. The first thing I noticed is how soft that canopy mount is. It is much softer than on the Pavo20 Pro. We'll have to see how that affects our footage. We do have LED lights pre-installed, which is a nice touch because when you fly with the lights on, the drone looks awesome, so you can get some great reaction from the people you're filming. I do like to have mine set up on a switch so I can turn them on and off because sometimes I don't want the lights on. We've got an extra canopy set with camera mount and GPS mount in case yours breaks or if you just want to go stealth mode. And an ND filter for your DJI O4 Pro. I believe this only comes with the bind and fly version, not the version without DJI O4 Pro. These filters have been redesigned to make them easier to put on and take off. The original filters latch from the top and bottom, and they were really hard to get off. These new filters latch just from one side. Oops. In this box down here, we've got a spare prop guard. This is nice to see because on these little quads, the guards take the impact when you crash, and with an extra prop guard in the box, you won't have to wait on shipping if yours breaks. All right, let's take a closer look at the Darkstar22. The ducts on this quad are pretty stiff. There is a small amount of flex to absorb impacts when you crash, but they don't feel like you're gonna break them very easily. This carbon plate is 2 millimeters thick, so it's nice and stiff to prevent vibrations. This canopy looks awesome, and it has a very interesting design with the camera mount up front, the antennas for the DJI O4 Pro and our ELRS antenna in the back, and it has a secondary piece right here that protects the camera even as you tilt it. You can tilt the camera angle all the way down to 0 degrees or pretty close to it if you want to fly slow or do real estate fly-throughs, and you can tilt it all the way up to probably 35 or 40 degrees if you really want to rip. Notice that the DJI camera cable is very short. That's a good thing for this drone, but just be aware that if you want to move the DJI O4 Pro from this drone to another drone in the future, you might need a longer cable. We do have easy access to the SD card slot and the USB-C port on the DJI O4 Pro. And the USB port does come with this rubber plug to keep it clean, which is a nice little detail. The canopy is mounted on 5 of these rubber grommets, and as you can see, it's very soft and it does a great job at preventing vibrations. What I really like about this design is that you can remove the canopy very easily just by sliding these rubber grommets through the slits in the canopy, like that. Then you can separate the canopy completely just by unplugging the DJI O4 Pro and the ELRS antenna from the board. Even though it's super easy to remove this canopy, it is a little bit harder to reinstall it because you have to get these rubber gummies back into their holes. I recommend using dental floss and then to pull them through the holes, especially with this rear one that's really hard to reach. Our flight controller is the GEPRC F405 all-in-one board, which is a 2 to 4S board with a 20 amp ESC, and it has a built-in 2.4 gigahertz ELRS receiver. You can fly the Darkstar22 on 4S batteries, although it's been tuned for 3S. The recommended battery for this drone is a GEPRC Storm 3S 720 mAh high voltage pack, which will give you a good balance between performance and flight time. The board doesn't have a USB port, so you do need to use this dongle to plug your quad into Betaflight, just like on the Pavo20 Pro. In the back, we have a real ELRS antenna. I really like to see that because it should give us better range than one of those lightweight wire antennas or ceramic antennas, and it is mounted securely and it's well protected. And we do have a captured XT30 in the rear. That's nice to see because it keeps things clean and it just makes the drone feel a little bit more refined. Our motors are 1104, 7500 kV. And for reference, the Pavo20 Pro uses 1104, 7200 kV, so the motors on the Darkstar22 are a little bit more powerful. The props are Gemfan 2219 2.2 inch props. It's not a pusher like the Pavo20 Pro, so it won't be as efficient, but it will fly a little bit better, especially if you like to fly fast or do some freestyle. These are T-mount props, and they're an all-new design for the Darkstar22. This is very appealing to me because I've always been a little bit nervous flying my Pavo20 Pro over water or anywhere I couldn't get the drone back because it uses these push-on props, which have the risk of loosening over time and they could fly off. Now, to be fair, that hasn't happened on the Pavo20 Pro, but it is a risk with push-on props, and it's something I've thought about, so I do really prefer these T-mount props on the Darkstar22. And since these props are 2219s, they have a slightly higher pitch than the 2218s on the Pavo20 Pro. That's not a big difference, but it's there. According to the specs, the Darkstar22 weighs in at 127 grams with the DJI O4 Pro. Mine weighs in at 130.7 because I do have a GPS unit, and if I add on my ND filter, it weighs 131.7 grams. The Pavo20 Pro, also with DJI O4 Pro, weighs in at 110 grams, and if I add that ND filter, it weighs 111.1 grams. So the Darkstar22 is about 18 grams heavier, and that's not counting 3 grams for the GPS unit. With this 550 milliamp high voltage 3S pack, the drone weighs in at 174.3 grams, and I was able to fly for about 4.5 minutes. With the recommended 720 milliamp high voltage 3S battery, the drone weighs in at 181.4 grams, and I was able to fly for about 6 minutes with this battery. The battery is mounted to this carbon plate with a battery strap, and this system is super flexible, so I can run loads of different battery sizes and shapes. I've got tons of 3S batteries from old quads, and it's nice that I can reuse them. We get a carbon fiber landing plate with these TPU feet, which protects your battery and it holds the quad upright when you take off and land. It's a nice touch, but I tend not to use it just because it takes a little bit longer to swap out batteries. For my maiden flight, I flew the Darkstar22 around my house. It's super easy to control when you're low in the throttle, and I think it would make a great drone for getting indoor shots or doing real estate fly-throughs. When I took it outside and really opened it up, the Darkstar22 has some real power. Those 7500 kV motors on 2219 props have loads of thrust, and if you're disciplined with the throttle, it doesn't make all that much noise and you can get some nice long flight times. It does feel more powerful than the Pavo20 Pro, there's no doubt about that. Even though the motors are the same size, they are higher kV and we're running slightly higher pitch props, and that combination does give us a little bit more power. For me, this 2.2-inch form factor is ideal for flying in public places because the drone is small enough so that people look at it as a toy, but it has enough power to carry the weight of that DJI O4 Pro, and it can really rip. The Darkstar22 can be a powerful tool for getting cinematic FPV shots. It's just up to you to go out and get them. I was flying on a windy day, but even so, the footage is nice and smooth, and if you run your footage through GyroFlow, you can get some great results. To get these shots you're seeing, I am filming in the D-Log-M color profile, and I just dropped the official DJI LUT on top of my footage in my editing software. I am filming in 4K 60 frames per second with manual shutter speed, which means I'm using ND filters. The ND8 filter that GEPRC includes in the box works great, but you might need to pick up some stronger ND filters for those bright sunny days, especially if you film in lower frame rates. On the top of the canopy, we do have a mount for an M10 GPS unit. It uses a clever mounting plate that goes right on the top of the DJI O4 Pro. It would have been nice if they had given us the option to buy the Darkstar22 with a GPS pre-installed, but it's not too hard to install your own. I recommend picking up a GEPRC Nano GPS because the mount is already sized for it. My GEPRC Nano GPS was already installed on this Lumineer Johnny FPV build, and I didn't want to take it off, so I need to find another Nano GPS that'll work. I'm going to use a Flywoo Nano GPS on mine because it's cheap, it only weighs 2.5 grams, and I already had it. I did have to remove the TPU print holding the LED board in order to access the pads on the flight controller. I did use a small piece of double-sided tape to hold my GPS in place. I think a GEPRC Nano GPS would just snap right into this mount. If you're an experienced drone builder, it won't be a problem to install a GPS onto this drone, but if you're not used to soldering, you might want to practice a little bit first because it can be a pain to work on small micro drones like this, especially if you have fat sausage fingers like I do. Just be aware that if you plan to install GPS on your Darkstar22, the placement of the GPS unit is prone to interference with the DJI O4 Pro. I am able to get a GPS lock, but it takes a long time and it's not really ideal, so I might have to experiment with a different GPS unit or maybe wrapping my wires in copper tape to shield them. If you're considering the Darkstar22 or the Pavo20 Pro, here's what you need to know. The Darkstar22 is about 18 grams heavier than the Pavo20 Pro, and it is running 7,500 kV motors with 2219 props compared to the 7,200 kV motors on 2218 props of the Pavo20 Pro. And it is running upright props instead of the pusher configuration on the Pavo20 Pro. That means that it is slightly noisier and it is slightly less efficient, but the Darkstar22 is definitely more powerful, so it's going to be more capable for freestyle flying, and it does handle the wind better. And since the Pavo20 Pro is lighter weight with a more efficient power system, it's going to make less noise and be easier to control indoors. The Darkstar22 also has a softer camera mount, although it might be slightly less durable since it's only held in place with these 5 rubber grommets. The Pavo20 Pro's canopy is screwed down with rubber grommets and step screws. That means the Darkstar22 is going to produce smoother footage when there's a lot of wind or when you're flying aggressively, but the mount on the Pavo20 Pro might be more durable and stand up to crashes better since it is held in place by 4 M2 screws. The Darkstar22 also has some design advantages like an integrated GPS mount, a captured XD30, and a real ELRS antenna. The Pavo20 Pro would require a custom 3D print to mount a GPS, and BetaFPV's all-in-one board uses a small wire antenna instead of a real ELRS antenna. This setup does get decent range, but it is possible to outfly the range of that antenna with the fantastic video reception you get with the DJI O4 Pro. And there's no question that a traditional antenna, like on the Darkstar22, will always get better range. The Darkstar22 definitely feels like the more premium drone, but you do pay for that with an 18-gram weight penalty. All right, now let's talk about price. For the version without DJI O4 Pro, the Darkstar is about $65 more than the Pavo20 Pro. But for the version with DJI O4 Pro pre-installed, the price of the Darkstar22 is only $35 more. And if you consider the premium build quality and the extras you get in the box, like an extra canopy set, extra ducts, and an ND filter, it's a pretty good value because GEPRC only adds $230 for the DJI O4 Pro. So there's no premium on the cost of that DJI O4 Pro system. This is great news for people who don't want to take apart their brand new shiny drone, or for people who live in the US or other countries where you literally can't get a DJI O4 Pro at a fair price. Here's the bottom line. This is an amazing little drone that has made lots of improvements over the Pavo20 Pro. I would go with the Darkstar22, especially if you plan to buy one with the DJI O4 Pro pre-installed, because it's a better drone with more value in the box and the price difference just isn't very much. But if you're on a budget and you already have a DJI O4 Pro, the Pavo20 Pro plug and play, or the version without the DJI O4 Pro, is a solid little drone and you can't beat the price point. And it does have the advantage of being 18 grams lighter. The good news is that whichever one you go for, you're gonna end up with a fantastic DJI O4 Pro micro cinewhoop that you can fly just about anywhere. What do you guys think? Do you prefer the Darkstar22 or the Pavo20 Pro, and why? Let me know in the comments. I always love to hear from you guys. All right, that'll do it for this one. See you guys in the next one.